It's strange how New Year's Eve brings out the best in some people and the worst in others. For me, last year, it brought out something far more terrifying, something I can never unsee. And no matter how many times I try to explain it, the memory feels darker than words can capture. I live in a quiet southern town where the roads get lonely at night, especially the narrow, tree-lined back roads that lead to Darren's neighborhood. Darren's family throws a big New Year's Eve party every year, and despite the eerie drive, I always look forward to it. That night, the air was colder than usual, and the dark roads were even darker. With nothing but my brights cutting through the dense forest, I focused on the road ahead. Then, in the distance, I saw her, a woman standing by the roadside. She wore a white gown that shimmered against the headlights, her figure unnervingly still. I slowed down, unsure if she needed help, but she didn't signal or move. Instead, as I passed, I caught a glimpse of her face, or rather, the absence of one. In the red glow of my taillights, I saw her turn to face me. It was as if she was watching me leave. My heart raced, but I convinced myself it was nothing. Maybe she was lost, I thought. Maybe I should have stopped to help, but something deep inside told me to keep driving. By the time I reached Darren's house, the unsettling encounter felt like a distant memory. His family welcomed me warmly, and the night was filled with laughter, music, and the countdown to midnight. But as the hours passed, a lingering unease settled over me. I couldn't shake the image of that woman. Who was she? Why was she out there in the cold? After midnight, as guests started leaving, I stayed behind to help Darren's family clean up. By the time I left, the house was quiet, the driveway empty. I started my car, hoping for a smooth ride home, but fate had other plans. Not long after I hit the back roads again, my car gave out. A scraping sound cut through the silence, and I knew something was wrong. Reluctantly, I pulled over and stepped out into the freezing night. The darkness was suffocating. My phone's flashlight barely cut through the void as I inspected my tires. To my horror, all four were shredded, torn apart as if by claws. And then the forest went silent. No wind, no rustling leaves, no distant calls of wildlife. Just silence, until a twig snapped nearby. I froze. The sound was deliberate. Someone or something was there. And then I heard it. "I see you." It was a woman's voice, soft and chilling, cutting through the darkness like a knife. I fumbled with my flashlight, pointing it toward the sound. That's when I saw her, the woman in the white gown, standing at the edge of the trees. Her pale, gaunt face was a nightmare made real. Her eyes glinted in the light, her mouth twisted into an unnatural grin, despite half her jaw missing. The dark stains on her gown told a story I didn't want to know. Without thinking, I turned and ran. I sprinted down the road, the sound of leaves crunching behind me as she followed. I didn't dare look back, fear giving my legs a strength I didn't know they had. When I reached Darren's house, I pounded on the door until his mother answered. They brought me inside, listened to my frantic story, and called the police. The police searched the area that night, but found nothing. The next morning, Darren's father discovered something in the yard, a rusted knife, caked with what looked like dried blood. The officers returned to search the abandoned shack along the back road, where they found gutted animals scattered around the property. But there was no sign of the woman. I learned later that one of Darren's guests had seen her too, wandering outside during the party. No one thought much of it at the time, but the scariest part? She had slashed my tires while I was inside the party, and no one noticed. She had been waiting for me. I stayed the night at Darren's house, but sleep didn't come easily. Around 3 a.m., I woke to a soft tapping on the second-story window. I didn't look. I couldn't, but I heard her voice again. "I see you." By morning, she was gone. I'm still planning to go to Darren's party this year, but I won't be driving alone. And I'll be taking the long way home, no matter how much time it adds to the trip. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Some roads are better left untraveled.
Yeah!